A group of young people with colorful hair fighting against demons while having to worry about their grades in school. Does it remind you of anything? Persona is a series that has evolved a lot during its almost 30 years of existence. The first 3 games, Revelations Persona, Persona 2 Innocent Sin, and Persona 2 Eternal Punishment, are relatively different from the more modern versions of the series, especially in terms of the strange vibe of the characters and the crazy stories of these older games. Demonschool is a tactical RPG that draws heavily from the past of the Persona series. But not only from the classic games in the series, it also draws a lot from the origins of the Megami Tensei series, with elements of 80s and 90s horror mixed with the modern lives of young students. The premise of Demonschool is to be a more straightforward RPG, where the player doesn't waste much time with complex mechanics or story exposition. This applies to everything in the game, from combats to the main group of characters. Faye is the descendant of a family of demon hunters. She's the type of character who solves everything through fighting, but knows when to ask for help from her companions when punching isn't enough. Destin is similar to Faye in the sense that he resorts to fighting to solve his problems, but he's much goofier than Faye, especially when it comes to complex life issues. On the other hand, Namako is the opposite of Destin. She's the nerd who always tries to help with complex issues, even if she doesn't feel very confident about it. And finally, there is Newt, the guy who's passionate about pop culture. He doesn't engage in violent activities much and prefers to help his friends in other ways. This group of characters studies at the same university, where their plans day after day during the semester will inform the types of abilities and relationships they will have throughout the game. Demonschool features a time system, where days pass on the calendar, with activities in the morning, afternoon and evening, which can be found in many interesting locations on the island where the game takes place, from the town square to the cemetery for those who enjoy a more gothic stroll. Activities such as fishing, side quests, and even romantic encounters are available. There are a total of 15 characters to build relationships with, and some of them can join our group in the fight against the demons. One of the game's themes is expressed in its visuals. The world and humanity are depicted in 2D with beautiful and colorful pixel art, while the demon realm is in 3D, with dimensional portals that bring terrifying and gigantic creatures from the depths of hell, or even their small servants, who, being regular people possessed or inferior creatures, are also represented in 2D. It's a simple idea, but it blends the game's aesthetic with its narrative very well. The 3D distortion at the beginning of battles is not accidental. Speaking of which, combat in Demonschool works almost like a game of chess, where positioning and movement on the board are the most important elements. This is because there is no direct way to choose the type of attack each character can use. Attacks are determined by the movement, direction, and which creatures or characters are adjacent to those positions. It may sound confusing when I explain it this way, but it's actually quite simple to visualize. At the beginning of the battle, you decide which character will participate and in which positions. Then the enemies appear and the planning phase begins. In this phase, you have 8 action points to spend on moving your characters. Each movement costs 1 action point, and this cost increases progressively with each subsequent movement of the same character. For example, to move Faye closer to the enemy and then attack, you would spend a total of 3 AP, 1 for the first movement and 2 for the next movement. Attacking in Demonschool happens automatically, you just need to move the character to the same position as the enemy. This is where the combat differs from other RPGs. Depending on the direction the character faces the enemy, the type of attack can change. If an enemy is behind and in the same direction as the target, the enemy will receive the same combo damage. If one of the main characters is behind those enemies, they will perform a combined attack. Some enemies explode, others leave a trail of poison, and so on. Attacking enemies is important, but even more crucial is the direction from which you attack them and the position they end up in after the attack. Different characters have different effects. Faye, for example, performs a kicking attack every time she moves towards an enemy, in addition to the different combo effects I mentioned earlier. Destin behaves similarly. Namako, the colorful haired nerd, doesn't deal damage but inflicts paralysis on the enemy for 1 turn. Newt, on the other hand, doesn't attack normally. He heals group members when he approaches them, and if they have full health, he strengthens their attacks. After the planning phase comes the action phase, where we see the outcome of the elaborate plan we devised. Then the enemy reacts and we go back to the planning phase. These combinations of attacks and directions are the most important aspects of combat, and that's why they reminded me a lot of chess. It's not about the type of attack each character will perform, but rather about how they move and the positions each character and enemy will occupy after each action phase. Strategizing the next planning phase even before the subsequent phase can lead to much more effective ways of facing the enemies with each new turn. It's a highly distinct tactical combat system that works very well and elegantly. It's always rewarding to see the characters execute with prowess what you carefully planned. If all of this reminds you of Into the Breach, it's because they are indeed very similar. However, according to the developers of Demonschool, the game's combat system was already in place before Into the Breach was released. It's a mere coincidence that both games aim to streamline the number of steps required in turn-based tactical combat. And to be honest, any tactical combat that reminds you of Into the Breach should definitely grab your attention. Unfortunately, in the demo, I didn't have the opportunity to face any of the giant bosses shown in the trailer. However, you can get a brief idea of the types of challenges we will encounter, as well as the ways to counter and prepare for these battles. Demonschool draws inspiration from classic RPGs, particularly the Megami Tensei series, to build its world and narrative. It also takes cues from Italian horror films of the 70s in terms of colors and aesthetics, as well as Japanese horror manga to create its macabre creatures. It's an amalgamation of influences that brings a fresh look to the genre. However, anyone who thinks this game is stuck in the past and its inspirations would be mistaken. Demonschool takes risks and innovates, especially in its combat system, which may appear simple but offers a deeply rewarding depth. We can only wait to find out if the game will continue to surprise us until the end and deliver a story worthy of its inspirations when the full game is released, set for late 2023 on all platforms, PC, PlayStation, Xbox and Nintendo Switch. I hope you're enjoying getting to know Demonschool. If you're interested in the game, please leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to Under the Radar to get notified when a new video comes out. Thank you very much for watching and see you next week.